So there's a spot on my wall in my office where you have like texture on walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, on like the ridges of the texture, it's missing paint and it's like really scuffed because there was a huge spider there one day. And I grabbed my shoe from off the floor and I hit it so hard that it scuffed my wall. And I have not like cleaned it off. Like Magic Eraser will get it off really well. But I'm like, this is the death spot. There's a death spot on my wall.
That is so metal. I love it.
It's to let the other spiders know that they're not welcome in my home.
This is your friend. Yeah, dude, spiders can go stay outside. That's my politically correct thing I wanted to say. Ooh, fun fact. I definitely may have made a dirty joke in front of one of our sergeants major the other day and made him laugh. So that was good.
What the heck is a sergeant major? Is that like pretty high up on the E list?
Yes, it's a very high enlisted rank. Your sergeant major is basically, so for our battalion, the sergeant major is the highest ranking enlisted man we have in our battalion. And we were doing these lat pull down exercises with bands. And so I was like showing everybody how to do it. I'm like, hey, make sure you're doing this. Make sure that you're like using control. Make sure you don't let the band jerk your arm up too quickly. Do that on your own time. And I got a good laugh out of everybody. And I turned around and Sergeant Major standing there. And I was like, sir, I'm so sorry. He laughed though. So we're good. I still have a job. No formal complaints have been lodged. So we're good.
Yeah, if you make him laugh, you're in the clear.
Oh, yeah.
20% APR on that 2012 Camaro, am I right, Sarge? We should probably read our notes.
Let's get right into it. Let's rip into it.
Rip it, grip it, and rip it.
Rip it and rip it. It seems to me that Star Wars has a serious lack of creative direction at the moment, or in our case, no direction at all when it comes to the mainline Star Wars movies. Don't get me wrong, I love Andor, and Lucasfilm Animation Group is absolutely crushing it. Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, and soon to be Tales of the Underworld. We are seeing some fantastic work there. Or when Rebels came out, I would have bet a significant amount of my life savings this was going to be a very lame show given its Y7 rating. It's for the kids. It's not going to be fun.
It's for the little children.
And then we saw some war crimes, and it was a good time. Not as many as Clone Wars, but still. We have usually been of the opinion that, quote, darker is better, unquote. But that's not universally true. We found out Rebels ended up bringing back Thrawn and brought him back into the fold during Season 3, and eventually that story led to Thrawn being cast in the live-action Star Wars project through Ahsoka.
Slight side note, I just saw one of our Patreon guys show up live on Helldivers 2, and I'm like, how mad would he be if I just ditched him right now for Super Earth end recording?
To all of our lovely people, support us on Patreon. You guys can join the Discord where we often have SOS beacons posted in the Discord so people can join the dive.
Yeah, we play games together kind of a lot, except for one time where one guy posted an SOS, got a response, and then he bailed on him because the other guy had diarrhea. I'm not saying who, so I'm not doxing them, but it happened.
You know who you are. Insert first name, last name. Living in this city in this state.
Okay. I can't help but wonder that after the original trilogy, the idea of quote unquote more Star Wars was a dream. But then it happened. Not only did it happen, but they mainlined 3 more movies, not to mention the plethora of games and books. Remember, this is technically starting in 1999 and moving into the 2000s. The books are the most magical rabbit hole, I promise. Please read a book, read a Star Wars book. You're not going to regret it. So current day, now it's been nothing but TV shows. Don't get me wrong, I am grateful. But Star Wars in theaters is a truly memorable experience. Even at the time of recording, the trailer for Mando and Grogu's Excellent Adventure hasn't come out yet. That comes out, I think, in 3 days from now. I'm not 100% sure what the time changed. Because we mentioned it in our last video that Star Wars Celebration starts today or tomorrow. Again, I don't really understand the time change. Time is an illusion. But there's a lot of cool stuff in Star Wars Celebration, and we are going to cover it sooner or later. Let's see. It'll be out by the time this episode airs. So go watch that. The last time we got a bona fide cinematic experience
Bona.
from Bona. The last time we got a bona fide cinematic experience from our favorite galaxy far, far away was December 20th, 2019. That was over 5 years ago. My brother, that is too long. And at this point, we can't blame COVID anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my assumption is that the pandemic is no longer a legit excuse for not putting out movies. We are back to normal. It's a new year normal, but here we are. Marvel got the memo. That's probably the thing that bugs me the most is the same corporation that owns Marvel is cranking out movie after movie, and it doesn't do the same thing with its other larger-than-life IP from a galaxy far, far away. Let me tell you what, you can say something about the quality of movies since Thanos. Not all of them are winners. I mean, not all of them were winners before either, but gosh darn it, my sweet little bobbies, they had a clear narrative direction. I'm going to say that again. They had a clear narrative direction. Some of the new stuff also does slap pretty hard.
Hopefully, this will all be changing with the recent promotion of Dave Filoni as the creative director for Lucasfilm. Mr. Filoni has always had a more abstract interpretation of the Force that we didn't really see from any of the cinematic releases, and I think that change of pace will be very popular. Ahsoka got a 7.8 on IMDb and 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ahsoka brought us more Night Sister magics, the cunning of Thrawn, and the magnificent blade work of Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. I think fans really like this. I know we both did. Because the Force has been chronically underrepresented. That's really what we would like to get at.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink as we set course for realities beyond our own.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 111. Today's recording date is April 17th, and this episode will be released on Monday, April 21st.
Hopefully.
We have a lot of stuff going on. It might be a later release. We'll see. Hopefully not. Over here in the Talk About Tatooine studio, we are very busy and continue to pull time out of our very busy lives, so please support us over on Patreon. Love you. This week, we wanted to take a level overview of Star Wars cinema and express what we want more of, what we think works, and what we think hasn't worked well in the past.
After the original trilogy, we were left with nothing. I shouldn't say nothing, because in the 70s and 80s, IPs were not leveraged in the same way as they are now. Back then, you just saw some toys and that was it. There were 3 Han Solo adventure books released after A New Hope, and 3 similar stories about Lando Calrissian after Empire. After the release of Return of the Jedi in 1983, there was no new Star Wars content released until 1991 with the release of Heir to the Empire. Again, a great book. If you guys want to start somewhere with Star Wars reading, Heir to the Empire, Timothy Zahn. For the purposes of our discussion, this will be our line in the sand when Star Wars really started adapting the IP business model we see today, and therefore the creation of much more content, i.e. movies, TV, games, books, and so much more.
I actually liked that you started writing about intellectual property because I'm actually covering that right now in my cyber law class. And at the scale at which the Star Wars IP has grown since its inception is pretty wild. So strong is the legal IP that the phrase is, "May the Force be with you." I've got a bad feeling about this. And "May the Fourth be with you" are all under trademark, including the words Jedi, Sith, lightsaber, and droid. All trademarked. Wild. Seriously, you can Google it, pops right up. Crazy. But it's also fitting considering the amount of money that they make from these products, toys, and other portions of their IP.
That makes total sense considering when we do our lightsaber giveaway in August coming up, our supplier who we buy from technically sells sabers, not lightsabers, because they're not an officially licensed product. Patrons are automatically entered, by the way. Before 1991, the only content to come out before the original trilogy were book and game adaptations of those films. Cool, but it's not a lot. These reiterations of the same stories don't really count as new and don't add to the lore of the Force. they don't add in the same way that these new canon stories or even legends of the Jedi and Sith do. We've said it before, but even though Star Wars is set in space, it's not science fiction. At its inception, it was a space opera, which, like, okay, what does that even mean? I've only ever heard Star Wars described this way, so let's see what we can find. According to Wikipedia, space opera is a subgenre of science fiction that emphasizes space warfare with use of melodramatic, risk-taking space adventures, relationships, and chivalric romance. So actually, even my earlier statement, the one from 2 sentences ago, that's saying that Star Wars isn't science fiction, well, it technically is. It's a subgenre. It's like when you describe a metal band as, well, just metal, and a metalhead will materialize out from under the stairs and correct you. Actually, this is Scandinavian infant throat singing, you ignorant slut.
What?
Ugh.
You're so right.
I felt particularly inspired thinking of it, just a brand new metal genre. Anyway, in the same thread of space operas, Star Trek would also be included on this list, and I think technically so would Warhammer 40k. Like, man, do we have a type or what? I usually go even further and call Star Wars a space fantasy, purely due to the fact that it has a system of magic. To quote a very intelligent politician, ah, yes, Maxi Big the Force.
I was wondering where you were going with that politician quip.
I know
All right.
everyone is getting real tight. They're like, what is he gonna say?
This is about to
What's he
get
gonna
weird.
say?
The year was 1977, and in A New Hope, we saw two significant uses of the Force. The first was Obi-Wan's ability to influence the mind of a stormtrooper officer in Mos Eisley. The second was Darth Vader using the Force to choke out rebels and subordinates alike. In Empire, we saw Yoda lift Luke's T-65 X-Wing out of the swamp that seemed determined to drag itself into the mire forever. Then, after a cool 3 years, we collectively experienced Palpatine absolutely roast Luke Skywalker with lightning from his fingies. The last display of the Force wasn't just because it was cool, but it absolutely was. But the novelty and magnitude of the power displayed told a story. It showed us that Palpatine was incredibly powerful, like over 9,000 powerful. I distinctly remember watching Return of the Jedi and thinking, yep, he dead. Super dead. Time to pack up and go home, right? Who survives lightning? Same thing happened to Anakin in Attack of the Clones when he gets roasted by Dooku and loses an arm just as a little treat.
But almost every example in the movies where the Force is basically relegated to telekinesis, moving stuff, and evocation, lightning, i.e. lifting stuff and shocking stuff. If any of you have ever played through the old KOTOR games or The Force Unleashed, and I know you have, we can see our age demographics. You know the Force is so much more than all of that. We are huge fans of reading, not just because it's good for your brains, helps expand your knowledge base, allows for better critical thinking skills and nuanced thinking, and probably so much more. Reading novels about Star Wars is the fastest and coolest way to learn about new Force powers. Many of the authors who are enlisted to write for this IP are given a lot of freedom to expand on the Force and how it's used. It's a good time. Did you know that there are many plants and animals that use the Force to survive, to hunt, and use it as a form of camouflage? Did you know that there are a myriad of interpretations of the Force, and the groups that seek to learn its ways other than that are not Jedi or Sith? Did you know that entire planets can be stained with certain aspects of the Force, like light or dark side? Did you know there are gods, both altruistic and malevolent, who are essentially manifestations of the Force? Did you know there are species that have inherent gifts in the Force, like precognition? There are even some who are strong in the Force when they are younger and then lose the gift as they age.
For those with the gift to control the Force, it gets even more spectacular. There were once a legend of a Force user so powerful that he was able to rip a Star Destroyer out of the sky. There was even rumors of a Force talent where the mind of a master can reach out to the allies around them and bolster their physical and mental capabilities to their absolute limit across an entire battlesphere. Anyway, a single Jedi, or Sith, can win entire wars over the course of a single battle. History tells us other Jedi masters that have mastered their inner turmoil and obtained enlightenment such that in their meditation they are able to float off the ground. You see where I'm getting at here, guys? The Force can be truly amazing and is amazing. And we are in the day and age where CGI and practical effects can bring these things to life on the big screen. A great example, whether you enjoyed it or not, was in Episode 9 when Palpatine lit up an entire hemisphere of a planet with a storm of lightning. That's the kind of fantastic display of power we are really interested in.
It doesn't have to be Sidious splitting the sky, trying to one-up the God of Hammers. It can also be like, remember in the Old Republic trailer when Grandmaster Shan caught a lightsaber thrust with her bare hand? Dude, I nearly spit out my coffee. That was so cool. She could get her own movie and it would slap. Unfortunately, if you follow these amazing displays of magic up with lines like, I am all the Jedi and I'm Rey Skywalker, then it sort of takes the wind out of your sails. Not to mention, somehow Palpatine to return, they fly now, and I'm the spy. I wouldn't call this bad writing. I would say it's adequate. But it certainly isn't great, and overall, fans were left with a movie that missed the mark in places.
Star Wars is in a strategic place right now and to really go big in the next couple of years. Here's how we can get that done. Again, you've heard us say this many times. Make it dark, take the gloves off, make it feel like these characters are in danger. Get us attached to the characters and kill them off. Game of Thrones did it really, really well. There doesn't have to be titties out all the place because we know that's not how Star Wars rolls, but people would be interested in that kind of stakes in their TV. Also, leverage your animation team. I think people would really react well to a full-length animated movie. 100%.
Guys, follow us on Patreon. You get to see the behind-the-scenes stuff because a bunch of that was not safe for work, so we're not going to post it on YouTube. But, you know, other things that we want to give us a new class of Star Wars movies. Keep us waiting. Tell us a story that may or may not last 1 or 3 movies. You know what I'm saying? When we know when the end is, we know that the story has to wrap up in a certain amount of time. You know what I'm saying? Like I love Rogue One. I love it so much. It's probably my favorite Star Wars movie. I love it. But we knew how it was going to end. We didn't know the specifics, but we knew like, hey, these people are probably not going to survive. Or, hey, like we know that right after this is going to be A New Hope. We know that the Empire is not going to totally lose in this movie. They didn't. I mean, they still did a terrific job. I loved it so much. But like there was still a slight amount of like we knew what was going to happen. Oh, my Lord. I love being in my 30s because I just get random acidic burps. Like I said, when you know the story will end, you can start to anticipate how abruptly all the loose ends are going to get tied up. I think I hate it most of all when you have a story that has branched out over the course of 2 hours and there's only 15 minutes of runtime left. You're like, there's no way they're going to tie this up in a way that makes me feel satisfied. I can't really think of a great example, but it's like if you take the time to like build your rising action, it can't just plummet straight back down into nothingness. Like you have to take not the same amount of time, but a deliberate amount of time taking us where we need to go. I need to be wooed.
All Disney movies in the Star Wars franchise, minus the ones that they do as anthologies, they planned on doing them as trilogies. Give us a good cliffhanger. It's going to be okay. That's just going to get people excited for the next movie because they're going to watch it anyway, but build the suspense. Romance me a little bit.
Right. And like, I like my movies in trilogies because it means I get more movies, which is great. But like, it doesn't need to be a trilogy. It can be 2 parts, it can be 1 part, or it can just be, don't tell us, just don't tell us, so that when your movie does end on a cliffhanger, we don't see it coming from the beginning of the movie. You know,
we're like, this is going to be a trilogy.
Yeah, it's like when they introduce Kylo Ren at the beginning of episode 7, we know his arc is not going to get completed in episode 7. We know he's going to continue to be built and progressed upon in episodes 8 and 9. Like we just know that that's going to happen. So leave us wondering, leave us a little bit of mystery. It doesn't have to be the Marvel formula, but things like Infinity War, I mean, not really a hot take, but like that's got to be one of the best cinematic payoffs ever. And not every movie leading up to Infinity War was a banger. Remember The Incredible Hulk? That is canon with Ed Norton. Canon movie.
Yeah, that was
Iron
a
Man
terrible
2.
movie.
Iron Man 2 did not age well. There's Elon Musk cameos in it as like a Tony Stark level like intelligence in it. Oh my gosh, I want to barf. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it
I'm
didn't
like,
age
what
well.
is he adding to any of this other than just barf? Gross. Cut him out. But it also kind of tells us, what were the times at that point? It's like we didn't know he was terrible. I mean, we probably should have, but
some of us
anyway.
did, and we didn't listen.
Yeah, it's like we didn't listen. Also, introducing a new Star Wars big bad would be awesome. How cool would it be to see Thrawn build up the Katana fleet and square off with, say, the New Republic? What would the New Republic do if faced with an existential threat of the Yuuzhan Vong? These stories exist. They just need to be brought to life. If we revisit the Galactic Civil War, here's a hot take. We can keep going back to this timeline, but please stop doing the AI deepfakes. I don't think people like them. I don't like them. They seem like a waste of money, and just hire a new actor. People don't mind. The original trilogy was like 50 years ago.
You'll be okay. I'm sure Harrison Ford would even like seeing a new movie with not him digitally recreated to be 40 years younger. We also need to find a new time, a new place, and a new conflict. Again, there's an entire canon, legends of stories that we can pull from. For example, Andrew, you just mentioned the Yuuzhan Vong. That's actually a story I'm not super familiar with, but from my basic understanding of that story was that the Yuuzhan Vong were so much of a threat to the New Republic that it made fighting the Empire look like child's play.
That is exactly right. I don't know a lot about the Yuuzhan Vong either, other than really what I've watched in like lore videos and like talked with other Star Wars fans. I'm about halfway through Vector Prime, which is the first book in that conflict. I got about to where Chewbacca is crushed by a moon, cried a little bit, and then put it down. So they're not joking around.
I forgot about that part.
Yep. Chewbacca dies immediately. Almost immediately. Pretty soon.
See what we're saying about darkness? We can handle it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
We also have some extra galactic travel that we could dive into as well. One of the novels called Outbound Flight gives us a whole new universe that we could basically dive into. And these, what do we want to call them? Not parallel universes, but parallel galaxies are canon now. Ahsoka canonized new galaxies. And we know that there's some overlap because there's Night Sisters in both of them. So we know that there's a way to get from one to the other. This also could tie into the beginning of the Jedi Order, or Jedi, if you know, you know, and the exploration of these hyperspace routes. Again, build the history. People like it. Pick a time frame, sit in it for a while. Also, we're a huge fan here. We've done a bunch of different podcasts on the legends. So Revan, Bane, Yuuzhan Vong, Chiss Ascendancy. I mean, we've done multiple episodes on those characters specifically. I can't even tell you how many episodes we've done on Thrawn. At least 3, probably up to 5 or 6. So like going over the Chiss ascendancy would be awesome. Andrew, you mentioned earlier in the episode that the relationship between the Force, some people lose that ability over time. That's literally the Pathfinders from the Chiss ascendancy. As children, they can do it. I know, right? I'm like, I know what he's talking about. I can read too. Literally, up on, oh no, I don't have them up here because I don't have those ones, but I have in my house somewhere. Don't mind the Tillamook shot glass, but I have somewhere in my house, I have some of those Thrawn books. So
Oh, I mind it very much. So do you fill it with cheese curds, or like what do you do with that?
I usually pour cottage cheese into it in the morning, let it sit, and then at the end of the day, I swipe it down.
That's so much grosser than anything I could have. Jeez, no.
The poison I put in it right now is a variety of flavored whiskeys. I actually tried the pineapple Jim Beam, and it's incredibly sweet, good with mixed, but yeah, I was feeling tropical.
One thing I actually wanted to touch back on is you said pick a time frame and sit in it. One thing I think that the Star Wars story group is really struggling with creating a clear narrative direction is picking a time frame and sitting in it. They're kind of all over the place. They're creating some High Republic content, they're creating some Galactic Civil War content, and they're going to be moving back to some sequel content. And they're doing everything in between. Pick a time frame and stick with it. I feel like this is so obvious, but give us movies and have the movies be in chronological order. Make a movie and have the next movie be a sequel to that movie, either directly or indirectly with some of the same main characters, maybe all of the same main characters. You know what I'm saying? Make your Iron Man, make your Captain America. Like, I keep going back to the Marvel because it worked. Like, it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Come on, guys. And it's like Star Wars, I think, is really trying to find itself. And I think that's why they haven't made a movie in 6 years. Because this weekend, when we're going to hear about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, I don't know how far they are in shooting or writing, but it's not coming out this year. So we're going to be looking at 7, 8 years between Star Wars movies. And we're going to talk a little bit about this later, but my understanding is that when Disney picked up Star Wars is that we'd be getting more movies, and we're not getting more movies. Let's pump in some more emotion into the stories. Make us care about the characters and their relationships more. Like, not to be like weird and gross, but kind of like to be weird and gross a little bit. Dude, ship some of these characters. Let characters develop romantic relationships. It doesn't have to be full-blown smut, but like, let us get involved in their love. People love love. To quote, I think it's Terry Crews's character, Terry Jeffords. Terry loves love. It's like Jedi Code be damned. People are going to fall in love. And it didn't really happen all that much in Star Wars. And the main romance we saw in Star Wars was between Padme and Anakin, and that's very problematic.
Yep. Although people would like some smut, though. Just saying, smut is so hot right now.
People do like their smut. What we want, though, is show us the story of a child so ravaged by the abuse of his drunk father that in his sleep, he chokes the life out of his tormentor. Remember what I said about Darker? Show us the story of an idealist who is shown true love and then goes on to show that same love to others, even through insurmountable circumstances. Drive them to the point of breaking, and then show that they will bend but won't break because they believe in the ideals that they fight for. Show us the triumph of a daring last stand where all hope is lost, only for reinforcements to arrive in the nick of time.
Put us on the edge of our seats as we follow Bothan spies, sneaking through the corridors of a Star Destroyer while trying to escape with sensitive data. We will probably keep beating the Andor drum, but when we get stories about the little guys, It works. To pull from our other favorite cinematic universe, Daredevil Reborn is amazing and just goes to show that a story with good writing doesn't need galactic stakes. It takes exactly one tragedy outside a local New York City bar to bring us in and hold us there. Show us the ruthlessness of Vader as he trains his Inquisitors, striking some of them down on their weakness and knighting others in a way that shows a bastardization of the order that he himself destroyed. We also need, just in general, we need better writing. Less somehow Palpatine returned and they fly now, and we need more fight these bastards and weapons are part of my religion. Mainly pulling from the shows to replace what we see in the movies. Star Wars is capable of having good writing. We've seen that in Andor, and I think that's what the fans are expecting at this point. It needs to have nuance and subtext.
Star Wars needs to learn how to manage its exposition. Learn when to show and when to tell and when to do both. An example of this is like, remember in Dune when Paul is learning how to sandwalk? He's literally watching a school lesson of like just exposition happening on the screen because it's just telling us this is how things are. This is who the Fremen are. This is what a sandwalk is. This is what the sandworm is. And it's like we are learning more about the story, but we're also learning more about Paul. We're learning things in the background, but we're also watching the hunter-seeker sneak into his room as this really cool looking hologram teaches him more about the universe and the world that he's on. Star Wars can do more of those things. It can teach people about the really cool worlds that George Lucas made and that Dave Filoni is building on. Sometimes it can just say what those cool things are, and sometimes it can show us what those cool things are, and sometimes it can do both, and it needs to do a better job of all of that. I am going to venture into some controversial it shouldn't be controversial, but it is controversial territory. Develop your characters, and this is the part about having clear narrative direction, is know where your character is and where they are going between movies. Don't sideline your characters movie to movie. Great example is John Boyega. Between episode 7 to episode 9, he went from a main character to a side character. There is actually some behind the scenes drama with this one, as John Boyega, rightfully so, pointed out that black characters are treated differently in Star Wars, and Disney seemingly relegated him to the shadows. Our stance, he ain't wrong. Black characters, for a really long time, have always been sidekicks, or, as the trope in horror films, are guaranteed to die by the end of the movie. I highly encourage our listeners to watch a very moving documentary called Women in Motion. It's the story of Nichelle Nichols, the famous black actress who played Lieutenant Uhura in Star Trek the original series. She also was a pivotal character in the real-life movement of recruiting and allowing black astronauts into NASA. During the film, she actually laments that her role in Star Trek is extremely limited, and she almost quits the show. The reason she doesn't is because a black man told her the story of how he and his family sat down to watch Star Trek and were so thrilled to see a person who looked like them on the screen. That man was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I cannot express how moving it is to see a child, or even an adult for that matter, to see their face light up when they see someone like them on the big screen being the hero. When I see folks complain about different people getting represented, I think they haven't seen the joy of a little black child see Chadwick Boseman slay as Black Panther, or a little Latino boy see Diego Luna fight the Empire as Cassian, or a little Asian child see Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once, or in Shang-Chi.
A long sidebar, but very important, as we think it deserves the airtime. Preferably, Disney would have stood by John Boyega and backed him up as Disney as a company first, and I think is less woke than people think. They tend to think that they're with their wallets first, people second. Most importantly, we understand the value of looking up, seeing faces that look like ours, and the joy that that brings. I could really see myself in Luke Skywalker, or if I'm feeling a little bit spicier, Han Solo. Overall, people want to be seen and see themselves. So if you find yourself complaining about the racial composition of a class, just think, what it might mean to someone else, and how it really might make their day.
In closing, Disney, for once, stop thinking about what will make you the most money and write a good story. You are capable of not being a corporate bag of trash.
We'll jump right into it here, guys, with the nerddom news. We have our Nintendo Switch pre-orders paused. I can't imagine what caused that.
So at this point, Nintendo does not know how much the Switch is going to cost in the States because of the current tariffs going on. We did mention it last week that we expected the price to go up, but we did not expect for the pre-orders to get paused entirely. And the reality of the situation is Nintendo cannot build a factory in the United States to build the Switch 2. And the reality is that either the Switch 2 is going to be so expensive it's unattainable, which is not really the point of the Switch. Like, it's not a very good piece of hardware, if I'm just being honest. Like, if you're going to spend $900 to $1,000 on something you can hold in your hand, buy the Steam Deck, right? Like,
Yeah.
buy something different. So this is going to kill the Switch in the American market. If this goes through, we don't know. We are going to keep you guys posted on what's going on with the tariffs and how that affects our different hobbies, because it will. Like, everything is political, unfortunately, and so we'll do our best to report on that. Let's see. We are getting a Star Wars Outlaws DLC, and it looks profitable. We are getting a Pirate's Fortune, which is also going to be showcased at Star Wars Celebration, which is not happened by the time of this recording, but will have happened by the time this recording is released. Such a weird timing. But
we'll probably cover a lot of that in our news section, if not an entire episode next week.
Star Wars Zero Company has officially been announced and also is going to be released or revealed at Star Wars Celebration. This is the game being developed by Bit Reactor that we talked about last week. We theorized that its name was called Zero Company based on the leak. That is now official. I think I did mention that Bo-Katan was going to be in this one. Looking at the poster, I actually don't think that's accurate. We will keep you posted on who the actual lineup is, because from what I could tell in the poster, I didn't recognize anybody. Not to say that it doesn't look fun, but I just didn't recognize any of the characters. Hopefully, we're not repeating the same mistake as Star Wars Hunters in giving us a cast of randos that we eventually just don't care about.
We have some news about Andor Season 2. It's coming out tomorrow, and this will be the final season of the show. Diego Luna said on an interview earlier this week that he specifically referred to Season 2 as the final season of Andor. Very, very sad about that. But also, it's a good thing, right? If they are planning on wrapping everything up, then they are trying to tell a clear and concise story.
And there's something to be said about knowing when your show ends.
Not every show has to go on forever.
Not every show has to go on forever. There's a lot of shows that are still going on. They're like, why is this still happening? It's like not even recognizable anymore. Not to throw shade, but like, I don't really think The Simpsons is funny anymore. I don't think Family Guy's funny anymore. I've also matured significantly. Barely. I've barely matured. I know
Half
how to
of
do
this
my
podcast
taxes.
disagrees.
I've matured in the way that I know what a W-2 is. But also, farts and butts are still funny.
Butts. Speaking of cake, Andrew, hit us with that next point.
Oh, dude, yeah. Space Marine 2, the patch 7.0 is live. There will be a link to the patch notes below. I played it, and damn, it's hard. They introduced a prestige system with this level up, so I basically took my character back down to 0, didn't lower the difficulty, jumped back in, and I was like, oh, look, I got my teeth kicked in. Wow. To be fair, I prestiged my Vanguard, jumped in at level 1, proceeded to get my teeth kicked in. I was playing on difficulty 3, but to be fair, I don't play a lot. I've only taken 2 classes to 25 since the game has been released. I don't play as much as I would like to. You guys know that our streaming schedule has dropped off to basically nothing. We don't have time to play video games anymore. It's really kind of unfortunate. but like most of the time that I play video games is like once on the weekend. And I usually play with the same guys, and I usually tell them the last time I played was with you this time last week.
Yeah,
And
pretty
we're all like,
much.
oh, and then we have fun playing, Helldivers or whatever. So it's a good
I
time.
mean, I
Anyway,
get it. I'm in school. I literally like will do a couple of rounds of studying and then play a co-op match on StarCraft because I know I can finish that in under 20 minutes. So it's like
you-
the quick brain break I need between study sessions. So I totally get it.
that's so great. What are your guys' study breaks? Let us know down in the comments. We'll pin the best one.
Also, we have some new Legos coming out. The Ultimate Collector Series Chopper and Django's Fire Spray, formerly known as Slave One. Also, Star Wars: A Master of Evil. I don't have any notes on that. What is that?
A new Darth Vader novel by Adam Christopher coming November 11th, 2025 is called Star Wars: A Master of Evil. So we're getting a new Darth Vader book, so that's going to be fun.
In tabletop news, Games Workshop puts Fulgrim against a Titan and other Primarchs as a test run of the new Demon Primarch. They fought a Warhound, the Lion, 23 Intercessors, and Mortarion. How did Fulgrim do on these?
Going down the list, Fulgrim was able to beat a Warhound Titan, which I think is insane.
But
Either the Titans are terrible, which we could do an entire episode on why the data sheets for the Warhammer 40k Titans are actually dog water, and all you need to beat a Titan is like 100 orc boys. Like they're not good. Midwinter Minis actually did a way better video on it, and he was like, "Yeah, I always lose if I bring this thing, like, because it's not a good model." Fulgrim also fought the Lion. He won barely. He also fought his weight in Space Marine Intercessors. It was no contest. He destroyed all the Intercessors, and then he tied with Mortarion.
wow.
Speaking of war games, Star Wars is potentially getting a new game from the studio Days of Wonder, and is also rumored to be shown at Star Wars Celebration Japan. More to come as we get all of these things after we've already recorded this episode. Next week is going to be great because we're going to be reviewing, the first 3 episodes of Andor. So
It's going to be sick. All right, guys. With that, let's wrap it up. Huge thanks to all our patrons. Biggest shout out to Mike, Isaac, David, Calmbrew, and Bamboozleham all over on the Discord server. Your continued support means a lot to us, so please continue to share this with a friend and leave a positive podcast review. Seriously, guys, it helps us out quite a bit. For just $5 a month, you can support us here at Talk About Tatooine so we can do more awesome things like giveaways, gaming events, and higher quality content. It is due to your support that we can make this happen. This gives you access to bonus content, all the silly things we say that might not be safe for YouTube, discount codes to our Etsy store, and access to our Discord server, where right now those folks are having a very fun discussion on potentially the future of the podcast, and an episode that I am currently working on sketching out. If you can't support us there, watch our videos. This is one of the best ways to support us and doesn't cost you anything. Like, leave a comment, and share the video. The interaction boosts the video in the algorithm so others can find us. If you are listening to this on a podcast player, leave us a 5-star review so that we get recommended to others. And until next time, may the Force be with you.